This it's the second week in a row, no video. Let's try this. What's going on, everybody? I hope that you are well tonight. It's Tuesday night, March 26th, 2024, and we got Shane Kelley from Small Town Xotics on the show tonight. Don't miss this episode. We're going to have a good time, I promise you. Shane is one of there's a couple things I really like. Actually, there's a lot of things I really like about Shane, but a couple of things that stick out. Shane's clearly one of the good guys in the business and on the scene. The thing I really like about Shane is he's unapologetically himself. And that's so hard to do in life. And it's so hard to be true to yourself that way. And I've always appreciated that about Shane. So stick around tonight. Shane from Small Town Xotics is going to hang out. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have a good time. Like I would be very surprised if we don't have a real blast tonight. So couple very quick updates. I hope you all have been well. I don't know what's going on with my intro. I have to like there's a countdown video and then there's a play my intro video. And for like a year, I've been like, Adam, just go edit a video that has like a little nonsense BS countdown at the front, and then your video starts. But I haven't done it because I'm always just like, well, I'll just click a button an extra time. And this is 2 weeks in a row. The lag or the internet has been like, I didn't play it. So I'm going to fix that. I'm still catching up from Tinley. And part of the reason is that I vended Green Bay this past weekend. So I got back home from Tinley. I didn't even unpack the truck. Obviously, I took out the animals and that stuff. But all the equipment, the show equipment, I didn't even know. I took my dirty clothes out of the suitcase and like my bathroom bag, but even my clothes were still in the suitcase. Packed everything again on Friday. Saturday morning, headed out to Green Bay, about 5.5 hour drive. I took my son Charlie with me, and Sunday was a good show. It was a decent show. I like the venue. The promoters are great. Dylan and Brittany from Scaled Up Expos, fantastic shows. I really enjoy them. And I got to hang out. I had hung out and did dinner with them along with Jim from Next Level Displays. Cool night it had like a 2-day show feel because we all got to hang out a little bit at the hotel. And then Sunday rolled around and the storm rolled in. And I got stuck in Green Bay for an extra night, which really honestly wasn't that bad. It's a nice hotel. It's at a casino. The venue is at a casino. So anyway, I didn't get back from that till yesterday midday or maybe even mid-afternoon sometime. So I've been catching up. I got a nice Leviathan t-shirt because I didn't even get a chance to wash my chef coats that I wear on the show. And it was a toss-up. I got the special edition from Tinley, Small Town Xotics t-shirt, but I'm going to save that. I didn't get it. You know, you got to wash the t-shirt to kind of get it just right. You know, I was like, you know what? I'm going to wash that one first and I'll wear it. I'll wear it Thursday morning. I do like the green. I like the Patty's Day twist on that. We'll talk a little bit about that. Hey, before we go any further, if there's any families watching, kiddos, that kind of stuff, I don't think there's going to be anything salacious in this episode or purposefully like vulgar or anything, but we might get into some real life challenges that people experience and that they go through and how we come out on the other side, or how maybe some of our friends didn't go that way. And so that could be a tough conversation. I just want to give a heads up. I know there's a lot of families and kids that have shown me a lot of support. And so tonight might be just a little bit off brand, but not like just purposeful, like, you know, like I say, you know, vulgar jokes for the sake of it. So anyway, heads up on that. We might be a little looser than usual on the PG, maybe a little PG-13 kind of deal or something like that. So heads up there. I have been productive, guys. Check out Morph Market. I have just about, not everything, but just about everything left over from 2023. I'm looking to move it. You want to make me an offer? You want to talk business? You want to talk quantities? You want to talk payments? Let me know. Check it out. It's all on there because ovulations are going, incubators going. I got hatchlings that I pulled from the incubator. It's time. Like if they're not in the holdback rack, then they got to go. So let me know. Those are mostly up to date on Morph Market. I do have more than that, but a lot of them are like duplicates. So like I'm not going to post like 4 of the same thing. Artificially inflate the supply, and then we know that supply drives demand down. Blah blah blah. So let me know on that. I got a new, if you haven't checked out the Proper Royals Patreon offering in a day or two, check it out on Patreon. I'm going to update some of the tiers and some of the offerings on there, tweak it. I've learned some things in the past year, what's working, what isn't. I'm going to update that. But one of the things that's going to get updated is every Thursday morning after Proper Cup of Joe, I'm going to record a, focused one theme, quick video, no edits. Editing is what eats up my time. It's why I do the live shows versus the YouTube shows or the YouTube traditional videos. So I'm going to do the unedited, just burn through a topic, 10, 15-minute deep dive discussion on kind of the business end of things, where my strength is. And specifically, I don't mean the business, my strength is anything to do with snakes. Running competitive businesses on very small margins. That's food and beverage, where I came from for the past 3 decades. So check it out. Maybe you want to join, and the top 2 tiers all turn into store credits. You get it all back. If you think you're going to want to buy something from me in the future, it's all there. We have an amazing community. I love hanging out with them. I think there's 13 or 14 people in the group chat now. So really cool place to learn, camaraderie, establish your own brand, do some business, that kind of thing. Yeah, Steven, you beat me to it, man. I got to say, I saw the video with you wearing the Proper Royals shirt, and I was like, man, I lost. I missed it. But the perfect combination of the unpacked chef coats, and it was here. I was going to wear it. So there we go. I give it right now. I give it a solid B. After I wash it, I'm going to regrade it. I think it has the potential to be an A. It's nice and broken in, like a little tighter of a neck, but I'm a small dude with a small neck. So I don't know. We'll see if it'll come through. Thanks for the shirt, man. I'm proud to wear it. So thanks for the support, guys. If I haven't seen you in the comments, I will. I always go back and rewatch the show, see what I can learn, see what everybody's chatting about. Shane Kelley, he's a good dude. I've been trying to get him on for a long time, and I'll tell you, you never really know. Well, first off, let me tell you, there's always 52 weeks, 52 Tuesdays in a year, and that's a lot of shows to book. And I've been doing this coming up on 3 years now, which is very cool. And thank you all very, very much. So like, there's this almost like constant ongoing conversation of who's up next, who am I going to book in the future, and then who do I want to book that's like, how do I get to know them? Because like it's sort of awkward just to pop up as a stranger and be like, hey, come on my show. So I kind of did that once with Shane, and he's always, he worked overnight. So this is no secret. So I know there's no conspiracy here. He wasn't dodging me, but he might've been, and that's okay if he was, because he didn't know me, but we got a chance to meet each other. And now I've been around a little while and all those sorts of things. And Shane's schedule changed, which we'll talk a little bit about that as well tonight too. So what I'm saying is, for whatever reason, it's taken quite a long time. I don't think it's nefarious. That's not what I'm saying. I'm excited is what I'm saying to have Shane on the show. One of the first times I met Shane in person, we talked a lot on Instagram and messaging and all that, but October Tinley, I had this grand vision. If you all didn't know, Robin at REDLINE Shipping in October had some space at his table in the lobby. And he said, you know what, Adam? And it was on like a week's notice, a very short notice. He says, if you want it, you can set up, you'll be in the lobby, but you could set up. And then Robin says, it'd be kind of neat if you did if you broadcast your show from there, from Tinley. Well, look, Robin's hosting me. He thinks something's a good idea. All right, I'll oblige. I'm kind of in his house. It's a polite thing to do. But plus, it sounded fun. I don't think anybody had ever done it, so I like doing those sorts of things, So I decided what I was going to do was have a mute button because I didn't know the legalities of recording people without their consent, plus the conversations, who knows what. So I get it all set up. We're streaming, we're going, and I thought it was on mute. And it wasn't. And to this day, I don't know how strong or not strong that microphone was, but there was somebody at my booth, and to this day, I don't know exactly who they are. But he'd clearly been around the industry for a long time and clearly had some strong opinions about people, to which usually I just sort of nod my head and, especially if it's people I don't know. If somebody talks smack about, Steven or Shane or, whoever, I'm going to go to bat for him immediately. But these are people I don't know. And I'm like, okay, maybe he'll move along. And here comes Shane around the corner from inside the room out to the hallway, like bat out of hell, runs right up to me. And he goes, brother, I don't know if you know, but if you think you're muted, you're not. And then he's gone, and I'm petrified. And no harm ever came from it. I think no harm, no foul situation. But I immediately crashed that stream. I immediately deleted the video. I immediately ended the conversation with whoever that guy was at my booth that I've never, ever seen again. And that tells you what kind of guy Shane is. He's looking out for me. He did good things for me. So anyway, please welcome for the very, very first time to the Proper Royals stage, Shane Kelley from Small Town Xotics. What's going on, Shane? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. That was I was laughing when you were telling that story because I remember that. And I don't even remember who it was that messaged me. But like I'm inside the main room, like doing my little promo stuff. So I have Instagram open and I get a message saying, hey, go tell Adam he's not muted.
Well, it was funny is I like in that moment when I'm like, oh shit, what do I do? How do I fix this? Like, well, there was a whole lots of thoughts going through my mind, but one of them was that. And then I look in the comments and like 4 people are like, you're not muted, man. But you can't see it because you're carrying on a conversation with people, or even like here, I'll miss comments sometimes, and but the other feelings were like, I was like, man, I made it to Tinley, but I'm not really in it. Cause I'm out here in the lobby and I'm trying to do these things. Not that there's anything I would have ended in the parking lot if they would let me just let me in the show. But all the things you worked hard for and you care so much about, and you're like, shit, this could be where it all falls apart. This could be that moment where it just goes to hell. And nothing ever came from it. And I've never seen that guy again. And I don't know if I hope those conversations didn't go through. I don't even know who he was talking about because, like I say, it was guys before my time. But you ran up, and then like, I don't know, I saw you later that day and you were like, you looked like a ghost when I told you that, Adam. I was like, yeah, I felt like one, man.
Yeah, Adam wasn't laughing at that moment. I was laughing as I walked back, but Adam was like, what?
Yeah, well, there's a moment where I was like, is this a joke? And then I was like, I was like, oh, shit, this ain't a joke, man. This is a problem is what this, and it was like, 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, like the show was just underway. I was like, this is how I'm going to go. This is going to be my moment where I go down in flames, So, I guess the big point in all of that is many other people would have let me just, shoot myself in the foot and stand back and watch. And you came in and saved the day, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, anything to help a brother out, man. I mean, maybe you didn't want to be muted. I mean, I don't know, but I thought you were muted.
I definitely wanted to be muted, and it like, if anybody probably knows, if you've ever been to a show or even just out in public in general, like you come across some strange people, man, that are running their mouths about and like, we all think that we want to pick the right battles to fight and do the valiant thing, but sometimes you're just like, man, let this guy run out of steam and move on. I don't need to save the world on this guy, and that was really kind of my mindset. I was like, okay, dude, that's fine. Like there's 10,000 people here. I'll find somebody else to talk to in a minute, Anyway, man. So how was your trip home, man? That was a long run from Chicago down to Tennessee, huh?
Yeah, it's about 8 hours. It's actually pretty uneventful, man. Like go through Louisville, go through Lexington, and other than that, it's a bunch of nothing.
Man, I thought it was longer. I still don't have my geography of the Midwest very well, because I've driven from Minneapolis to Western North Carolina, gone through Cumberland Gap, and end up, near Boone area. But that was like 14 hours. But I forget Minneapolis is enough. I mean, it takes me 6 hours to get to Chicago. So I mean, there's the math right there. I guess that's the way right there. But that's not that bad. 8 hours for the big show. That's not bad.
No, and so how I've been doing it is when we close down on Sunday, we just jump in the car and drive on home. Just straight through.
Do you go solo? I thought for some reason I thought you were vending solo. Do you have somebody with you?
Well, I had my 2 sons. So
okay, cool, gotcha. Yeah, and they're not old. Are they old enough to drive? They're not old enough to drive.
No. My the older one of those 2, he's 15. He's working on getting his permit. So
there you go.
And yeah, I wouldn't have that youngster driving that kind of drive anyways.
Right. Suddenly you're wide awake and just fine to make the drive, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember, because time gets screwed up for me. Sometime in the past couple of years, I remember that there was supposed to you had another one on the way. Everything good with the new? I assume that one's arrived and are still on the way. What's the story there? Where's the timeline?
No, that was a little clickbait. We were having a dog. We bred our dog, and then we were having baby puppies. But that was a disaster, bro. No, we don't have any puppies. I mean,
no. So not only was I totally in the dark, your clickbait won that one and lost. What happened, man?
One had to be euthanized right away, severely cleft palate, and then the one that survived we had for 3 weeks, and it's a Frenchie, so moms don't take care of them. We were bottle feeding. That was when I still worked nights. My wife worked days, so it was like round the clock. Then she got a pneumonia. Then it turns out her trachea was way too small for her. Like it was a congenital birth defect. She was in ICU for a week, and then we had to euthanize her, man. And it was pretty traumatic on me and my wife. I'm going to be honest. Because
for sure. Yeah.
Like when you're, I know right. With the dog, but when you're like waking up every 2 hours to bottle feed and then doing all these things, it's like having a kid again, bro.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is. And I have one, and people are like, well, how come you only had one? I was like, because once he got to 5 and I got him to school, I wasn't starting over, man. I won, man. I was out. But all joking aside, yeah, I got this one-eyed pied that has a horrible kink, but he eats and he lives. I'm like, all right, dude, you're mine. Like you're into the pet range, and you're in the home for, that's it, So I get it, man. Well, shoot, I didn't mean to bring that up.
Actually, other people have asked me too over the months and stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, yeah. It is kind of a long story, but yeah.
I think
that's the short story of it.
I think I had actually heard about it on like, not it, that your clickbait post on Jessica's podcast, that there was another one coming or something. I was like, man, this guy, he's all right. He's got a different spirit than I do about those kids, Now,
after kid number 8, I got snipped. I was like, I'm done.
Is that a real number?
Yeah, man.
Oh my God. I thought you were on like 5 with the dog puppy.
I'm on the tail end of it though, because there's only 2 that still live in the house and the other ones are all out. So like to me, only having 2, especially boys, because boys are a lot easier. I can speak from experience on that. But having 2 teenage boys is like part-time. Like that's cakewalk,
Yeah. Yeah, you really only. Mine just turned 12. Honestly, I could put a video game and 3 meals a day in front of them, and that's really all. That's about it. I mean, that's shower. Okay, go shower. But other than that, there's not a whole lot. So, wow, 8. All right, I'm learning as I go here. This is good. This is good. I think I'm sure you've told it a bunch of times, but I'm intrigued, and you don't have to go into like the super depths of it. California to Tennessee is nearly as drastic feeling or sounding as Florida to Minnesota is. What was the genesis of that? What was all that?
Well, man, it was something we were just kind of looking into. There was a bunch of factors behind it, but
sure.
A lot of our older kids that no longer live with us, they all kind of scattered to the wind as they got out old enough to move out of the house. And then at some point, we were the last ones left in California of like most of our family.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And they're all scattered, and it's like, well, we can't move one place to be around them. So we just started touring. So that was actually when I was building all the snake business and my social media.
Mm-hmm.
So I used snake trips and went and visited other states. And then that was actually us scouting places to live, though, at the same time. And we had like a checklist of states that like met our needs and everything.
Right.
So we did like Tennessee, we did Georgia. We had a couple more on the list, and then we did Tennessee third, and then Tennessee, man, like to me, I was just like, damn, this feels like home. Like,
it's a good, yeah. Well, you kind of know it when you think you know it anyhow. But yeah, I know the feeling you're talking about when you're like, hang on, this might be the one here, you know?
Yeah.
I know you probably didn't mean it this way, but to anybody watching, that's a perfect example of having a business where it could help in other areas of your life, even if it's not uber profitable. It can save you. I don't know if you guys caught that touring around for snake shows, right? I mean, that's something.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why I dropped that. So the people that were picking it up, like that was like tax write-offs and stuff. Doing those trips, like I'm going to visit Hardwired Exotics and do YouTube videos in Georgia, and then Tony takes me all around Georgia and tours the state and everything, you know? So it was a bonding experience. Wrote off that trip for a business expense, and we got to tour Georgia and went and seen Justin, you know, did all these things.
Yeah. And we probably would both give the disclaimer, like get a tax person, but
yes.
But bring these ideas up with the tax person. There's a very good reason that I drove to Pennsylvania for Warfel's Cookout last year to play some music by way of a New England trip from Florida. Tax guy says, I don't care how you get to Pennsylvania for your gig, but you had a gig there, and it was a snake show too. That's pretty cool. Just so you know, you get a twofer there. But a lot of people are like, well, why go through all that if I'm not making money? Or just ask the questions to a tax person. They'll help you out with it. But there's good benefit there. So where in California were you?
So the last 10 years I lived in Bakersfield, the desert, but I'm originally from Ventura by the beach.
Yeah. Okay.
So like I already did a weird change there going from the beach to the desert.
Yeah.
And then after 10 years in the desert, man, I was like, I'm done with the desert. Like,
you go anywhere after that, right? You're like, I'll be happy anywhere.
I was sick of 115-degree weather 5 months a year. And I just got sick of that.
Yeah. There's I know a couple things about Bakersfield, not too many, but there's a Social Distortion song called Stuck Out Here in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
And it ain't a pretty song, man. It's a downer.
Yeah, and Bakersfield's like its own state within California. Like that's the country music capital. That's where corn's from. Like there's all these things, but it's like Bakersfield, like regional little thing in California. It's different.
Yeah, well, and that's where Leo Fender started handing out his guitars to the country guys. I mean, there was such a thing as the Bakersfield sound, and that was Leo Fender with those country guys, man. So, Keith knows it well. Oklahoma West. Keith from not far from there, and maybe right there. I'm not sure. Let's see. Chris says talk about the Calico. I got a whole little bullet point on that, so we'll get to that. Stick around, Chris. I promise we'll get there. So, how long you been in Tennessee now?
3 years. It's been it was 3 years. Well, March, the middle of March. Yeah, 3 years.
Oh, so right on it. How long did it take you to kind of feel settled and like you had your rhythm and your animals are good and you feel like, I don't know how much you get into the community around there or not, but how long did it take to feel sort of normal?
Well, the animals, well, all right, let me back up a little bit. So there was actually 2 moves. So we moved out here to a rental, and then 2 months later, we bought the house. So I had to pack up and move a second time.
Such a hassle. Oh my gosh, right? Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, the move was only 11 miles, the second one, but man, it sucked. But then the animals, it actually kicked all them on, man. So like when I left California, I had 17 pairings planned. That was my goal for clutches that year. Then we moved. And when I got here, I ultrasound and stuff. I ended up having 21 clutches that year. So I overshot. It just kicked all these girls into breeding mode. But then the following year, I only had 10 clutches. So it took them like a year.
Huh. I haven't. Well, okay. So I moved in, September 1st is when I moved. I know exactly when I moved. We left like August 29th or something, but September 1st. So that was a little bit before breeding season. And I don't, knock on wood, I haven't seen much of an issue or a change, but now you got me scared. Maybe they're like, yeah, there's no change. We're fine. And then next year, I don't know. But you moving in the middle of like March is like right now is like high time for breedings. Like most of us are probably have a pretty good idea right now of what the season's going to look like and which ones are in and likely which ones are out.
And what it also did is like, so now my breeding season's almost the complete opposite of everyone else. So like my heaviest seasons during the winter. Like I just ended my 2023 season. My last clutch is in the shed tub. Even though it actually was laid this year, I still consider it 2023.
I gotcha. Yeah, that's a whole conversation in itself. Like I had one late in December, hatched just recently hatched. Obviously, it's not going to hatch in January, but yeah, those are just, one of them just took its first meal. So I count it from when it hatches. So, I mean, I'll call it the 2024, but that's just the label on the bin, so I can keep track of stuff with it. And then what about your family? How about the scene around there? You liking it? You keep to yourself? How's it feel around there?
Well, when I first moved here, my original job was like a part-time traveling job that ended up being full-time traveling. So my first year technically living here, I was only home 3 days a month for the first year.
Oh, that's hard stuff.
To me, personally, I only feel like I've lived here 2 years because I ended up quitting that job. I was like, I'm done. I came home on Halloween and I just never went back. I said, screw it. I'm not going back to work till January.
Yeah. A little sabbatical. And then I know you're doing the overnight stuff. How about now? You feel, I don't know. And Brian Cusco brought it up on the talk you did with him at Tinley, but man, like, yeah, this like glow about you. Like I put something about joy or happiness in the title or fulfillment, or whatever, one of those synonyms, like you have that glow about you, man. You seem like you're doing well. You happy these days?
Yeah, man, I'm happy. Like the breeding side's going good. The video with Brian, like there's something special about Tinley. I know you feel it too, Adam. Yeah. I mean, there's just something there.
Yeah. Well, there's that. And I like, so we're all sort of like nostalgic about from where we came from or formative or whatever. So everything seems a little bit rosier in the past. So like, I really miss Daytona, but what I miss the most about Daytona is the people that were there that kind of molded and mentored me coming up that I don't get to. Some of them are at Tinley, like Jeremy Bod and Steve Casino were there at Tinley, but then some of the guys like, Dale was in the audience a minute ago, and I don't know if he still is or not, but those guys didn't make the show. And then some of the other people that were kind of like, those are the guys that I looked up to. And then there was a whole crew of us that were like trying to make our way at that time. And none of those guys are at Tinley. So it's like, in my mind, it's always like Daytona or Tinley. So, but now that I've done two, this was pretty fun. I got to say, this one was a real good time. The other one was really October. I found really exhausting. This one I did I stayed right by the convention center rather than driving, and that made a world of difference. And you always get to know more people. And the cool thing about this whole content world is that I'm constantly meeting new people, ideally every week. It's not the same people over and over. So it was cool to see that. And actually on that topic, Matt Summers from Matt Summers Reptiles, he's another California guy. He is next week's guest. So guys, you got to tune in next week for Matt Summers will be on. So that is one of the beauty of Tinley, the opportunity to learn and to pick people's brains and to see what they have going on is it's worth the price of admission, man. It's so good.
Yeah, to me, it's like I get to see a bunch of people, especially being from the West Coast. Like my very first Tinley, I got to see a bunch of people that I'd been talking to for years, but never got to actually meet.
Right.
And then I still get to see some of my West Coast people that go to Tinley. So that part's good. And then I have my fanboy moments and stuff too. Like I just had Vin Russo sign the book that he wrote.
Right. Yeah.
The last Tinley. There's like all these cool things that happen. And then you sell a few snakes while you're there too. So it's like, man, all right.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to explain. So I think everybody in the audience knows this too. You go to a neighbor's house for happy hour or something, and they're like, "Oh, how's your little snake thing going?" I'm like, "Well, it's kind of a big thing, but it's going all right." And we just had like the national big show, and they're like, "Oh, okay, well, what does that mean?" And I'm like, "Well, all right, I play guitar, I play music. It's like going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and all the people in the Hall of Fame being there, and then me having a guitar and a few of them being like, oh, you play a little bit. Oh, you're in here too. That's cool. What are you doing here? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm and they're like, what are you talking? I'm like, the Jimmy Page of Reptiles is over there. The Angus Young is right over there. The Pete Townsend, he's over there. And I'm back in the back left corner, but damn it, I'm there in that back left corner, And then they're like, really? It's that big? I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. Actually, it's a little crazy. So I like that aspect of it though, that not only as breeders, I get to be there among those people, but also like the attendees, like that's there for everybody. That's even more there for them. Like I'm tied to a table, like the attendees, you can go see a Mount Rushmore of heroes right there in that room in the reptile world, man. It's crazy.
What's funny is, the October Tinley, the one where you had the mute malfunction.
Yeah, the snafu.
Somebody came and bought a hog nose from me, and like there's all these permit things because it's Illinois. So I go do all that. Sure. They're local to Illinois, so I'm talking to them and I'm getting their permits and doing all that stuff. And they tell me that that's their first reptile show. And I was like, oh, that's really funny because like this is the show. This is like
you're
the
ruined.
Super Bowl show. So don't think if you go to another one, they're going to be like this.
Don't ever go to another reptile. Like how horrible would that be? That be your very first? I mean,
yeah, just like a local person that's like, okay, I know, like they had the forethought to get their permit for the animal they wanted. And then they went to Tinley, but like that was their very first show. Like I'm like, yeah, you're actually really lucky to be local here,
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the analogy, like the concert analogy, or like maybe that's just like I just happened to live next door to Keith Richards. He thought he'd show me how to strum a few chords. Yeah, well, you're ruined. Okay, great. Yeah, yeah, that's funny though. Daytona was not my first show either. Actually, my first show I think was the Asheville Repticon, which is a fine show. There's nothing wrong with that show, but it's certainly no Tinley or anything else. There was a couple couple people asking about me in Daytona. I'm not going to vend Daytona because I don't want to go through the permits and bring in the animals and all of that. But I do think I'm going to be there. I think what I'm going to do is fly into Jacksonville, see my dad, come down for Saturday, hang out Saturday night, and then just head back Sunday morning, which honestly at Daytona is all I ever really want to do. Sunday is a tough day at Daytona. I'd rather just pack it in on Saturday, wrap it up, and get out of there, man. So, yeah, I'm going to try and get down for the festivities. for Daytona. What about you, Shane? You going to make it down?
Now, I do have this new job that's way cool with stuff, but I'm gonna probably wait until the following year. I'm still trying to iron things out with Tinley. So
yeah,
whatever. I got to be ready to do whatever for once my spot is like totally secured at Tinley, then I'm free to go do other shows.
I gotcha. Yeah. So I was going to go a different direction, but yeah, let's talk about that, or not talk about whichever parts you don't want to. Sometimes Tinley tables can be a touchy subject. So, what do you want to say about that? You said you had some things still working out. What do you see that you could share anyhow of that?
Well, I've vended 3 shows so far, but I don't technically have like my own table that is mine. So I'm like floating. I share with Moose from Great Balls of Fire. And then I have feelers out that if nobody else is going to show up, but I'm on the waiting list. I know sometimes they ask people to vend some of their other shows in order to like jump through that hoop. So I don't want to make plans to go to like Florida if I might end up having to vend a Schaumburg or a St. Louis.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay. Yeah.
That's where I'm going with that.
I got you. Excuse me. I got you. Yeah. So they put out, I guess it was public. I'd heard it in chatter and I didn't want to talk about it publicly because I didn't know if it was public, but I guess I've seen it publicly. They've said the whole, what do we call it? Subletting, if it's your table, you got to be there from now on. And actually it's an interesting conversation, even deeper than that about, I've seen a lot of posts about it being anti-ball python. I don't know, and I'm biased because I have a table now, but I don't know that it's so much anti-ball python as controlling who's on your product. Like I've told people, like being on the show isn't just like this show isn't just a sign up. You don't just get to sign up. Like I have a say in the product that I put out and who I want to have on. Right. And so I see that part of it too. And I remember very clearly in my career, a board of directors meddling in our restaurants a lot and me having to do some major cleanup, but a chef really melted down publicly. And he goes, you know what? You have me for a reason. I get a say in what the hell I put out. You want to be the chef? You figure it out. And I was like, you're not wrong, but if I could tidy this up for a minute, but it's the same sort of thought, I think. And they've built that. It's their product. It's their prerogative, and they've been very successful at building it. So that's sort of where I fall on that feeling. But you've got more species than just ball pythons, right?
Oh yeah. I do hognose. I do leopard geckos. Building a little bit of a boa collection and stuff too. So. And I've told them all this. I mean, like I can come with only hogs if that's what they need, whatever. I mean, I'll leave ball pythons at home. I do most of my ball python sales online anyways, Mm-hmm. But me, for one, I'm going to put this out there publicly. I'm glad about the subletting thing, even though I'm benefiting from it right now. But like, how are us guys that are on the waiting list ever going to get a table if nobody ever gives one up?
Right.
There's guys that have had them for over a decade that hardly ever vend their own table.
Yeah, I get all of it. And here's why I'm sick, because I'm about to sound like a huge hypocrite. And I'll be total transparency with it. So I still have a table at the Tampa Repticon, which is not on Tinley's, caliber whatsoever. When I first left Florida, a friend said, hey, do you still have the table? I said, yeah, I got it. Why don't you take it? You use it. He says, okay, great. And then he says, should I just tell them that I'll take it over? And I said, well, let me check with them and see. And Repticon said, well, no, if you give up the table, we have a wait list. Right. It's going to go to the people on the wait list. So I said, well, okay. Well, what if I keep it? And they go, well, it's yours to keep if you want to keep paying for it. And I had another friend who said, hey, we just got our FWC license, but we can't get into Tampa Repticon. Oh, okay, I can help you out. And I have a third friend. Hey, I just got my FWC license. So like I say, I'm sure it makes me a hypocrite. So I have that situation in Tampa. I don't make any money on it. I don't sell it. I charge them exactly. It's the price of the table plus the electricity. And that's, and when I tell them all, get on the wait list when you have your own table, cause it's actually a hassle. Like it's not like the value of having a Tinley table. I don't need it, but I'm able to help some friends out with it. So I do keep it, but I don't know, maybe they'll watch the episode and be like, not anymore, you don't, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But that was the reason behind it. But I know at Tinley, I've had somebody offer me a pretty substantial amount of money for the table, and I mostly just didn't want. At some point, you get caught on that stuff. At some point, you go, well, okay, you're going to take the one-time payday for the lifetime blemish. And I'm like, nah, just do it the right way, man. Do things the right way, Right. So, but I would say, of all the years trying to get a table with non-ball python species, this should be a opportune time given what
I'm hoping.
Yeah. I wouldn't say threatening. That's not the right word. Given what they have announced, I would say this seems like a pretty opportune time to get in line, so to speak, or to make a push, which I know you are.
Yeah, always grinding, man, grinding.
I was going to say that's the other thing I really like about you, man. I know you work hard, and I work hard, and you're one of the few people that I'm probably like, I think he works harder than I do. I work pretty hard. I think you work harder than I do, and I'll come up on that one in a moment. So nothing more in the works. I mean, everything's in the works just as far as like trying to get there. Hey, my name's out there floating it. I know you probably made a pitch in March, and that was only 10 days ago kind of deal.
Hell yeah. I pitched a couple times.
Yeah. So Jim says, I talked to Brian yesterday. He says at least 50% not ball pythons on your table, and it applies to Tinley only, not the other shows. Yeah, Dale says not a bad thing that they're putting a stop to that. Like, yeah, at least be there. I get it. Like I say, I get what I'm doing in Tampa, but if I'm not going back. It's not like I have somebody holding my place because I'm gonna, I just, something came up family or work wise. Like I'm done. I'm out. I'm just able to help somebody with it. If I thought I were going back, it'd be a little bit different, but I'm not. So we'll send that one. Send that one down the river. So, I know you'll keep us occupied, keep us up to date on how it goes. Well, you're going to figure it. Like, that's the other thing I like is there's certain people that are just like, well, I can't get in there. I'm not going to mess with it. And then there's people like, which I kind of put myself in this category. I'm like, okay, where's the side door? Where's the back corner door? Where's the other door? Like, getting into concerts as a teenager was like a sport, man. Like, all right, how are we going to get in here? All right. There's the band. I'm going to help them load in through the kitchen, man. That's how we're going to get in. You're like, and it's fun stuff like that where you just figure out the angles and there's a certain tenacity to it. So I think that you'll be there if I were a betting man on that.
I'll get there somehow.
I know you will. Let's see. Somebody was talking earlier. I didn't actually have it on my show notes, but then I was like, duh, of course I should have it on the show notes. Talk about this Calico gin. You kind of made a name for yourself with that. And I heard a lot about it for a while, and then I haven't heard anything that much recently about it.
Kind of goes in waves because the short history on it, I did a pairing for a Batman clutch. I made 4 Batmans. I was over the moon. That was like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was one baby that had this calico sugar looking thing going on. And so I was all focused on the Batmans, and I just put that baby aside. And then somebody was like, well, one of the parents has calico. So I did all the research. No, there wasn't retained sperm. No, there was all this stuff. I did.
Right.
I jumped. These are all the questions I get. So I always preface with this. But so I had this one male that had no signs of a calico sugar looking type gene. Oh, well, I'm getting ahead. So then I paired them to different things. The following year, it was the male, and the male kept producing them.
Huh.
And then so I was just like calico. And then I don't know who said it, but something was said on my YouTube video about like calico because my last name's Kelley. So I'm like, oh, we'll nickname it that for now. I still don't know if it's its own thing, if it's calico, if it's sugar. What I do know is the ones I make are really high expressive. And I've just been kind of working it in the background. So like there'll be a little hubbub when I'm hatching them, and then it kind of fades away because I don't.
Right.
I mean, that's not my main project, but it is a cool little side project, side quest, and hopefully there's some genetic testing that I could test it out with.
Right. Yeah, I think that you did one video that was like a quick fire, like, is it its own thing? Maybe. Is it compatible? Not sure. Going to find out. Does it look like a really high expression calico? Yes. And I was like, well, there you go. That's it. But I think that was the last I had seen or followed it. And I'm sure you do too. You know, there's so much content in our industry out there that it's impossible. Sometimes people are like, Adam, I missed one of your shows. I'm sorry. I'm like, shoot, if there's only one, great. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You know?
Yeah, man. There's a lot of content out there, and it's hard to keep up with everything. What surprises me, of course, like I get some haters here and there, and I just whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but like at Tinley, so there's been 2 Tinleys, my first one and this last one. People have came to my table asking about it, wanting to see it, and they buy it. Mm-hmm. So that's cool to me.
That's the brand, like that. Yeah, that's really cool. That's
like when they ask me about it, I'm like, oh, well, they've obviously seen one of the videos or
right.
something.
Yeah, exactly, man, exactly. So, do you have any still available at the moment, or you waiting on the next round?
I do have a couple on Morph Market. I sold a good a visual clown male to Aaron from Batter Up.
Yep.
And then I do have some het clowns. It's all tied in with clown right now, but I'm gonna run my breeder male to like Hypo and DG and Krypton and stuff like that this upcoming breeding season, which for me is almost a year away because I just got done breeding. So
right. Have you found a super form of it yet or not?
No, so I did do a calico to calico pairing. My very first time was this last season. With the original female that I produced in that Batman clutch, and then a male I'd made after that. And oddly enough, there was like, it was a small clutch, like 5 or 6 babies. Mm-hmm. I only produced 2 calicos. The mom had spot nose. Oh, 2. The mom had spot nose. Every baby in the clutch had spot nose, but I only had 2 calicos. So I don't know. There wasn't anything that looked like a super, but I mean, they could have been a super, right. You know, like how leopards and calicos are. And
yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like some of these things you don't know till 2-3 years or more of experience down the line where you're like, oh, that was that thing, you know, whatever the thing was. Yeah.
What I have learned is it reacts really good with anything in the yellow belly complex. It reacts good in clown. It runs sweet with spot nose. I have some blackhead versions right now. Blackhead like kicked its butt a little bit. So
overpowering it.
Yeah.
How are you getting these like emojis and balloons and stuff on your screen?
I don't know. It just did it. I said 2 and it gave me balloons. I don't know.
No, but you've had a couple thumbs ups too pop up. I don't know if you've seen it. They're like little floating bubble thumbs up. I don't know.
I talk with my hands so much it's reacting to me.
But it was my damn show, man. I should know it. No, I don't know. I don't understand. That's okay. I do like. I don't think I don't think there's time enough in the day to dive into this comment. But I am intrigued about the time he and his friend tried to break into a Guar show. And it's so weird. I don't think I can name a single Guar song, but I did just read the last like Guitar World interview with what's his name, Underus or Owner, whatever
Underus or Rangius or what?
Yeah, the original guy's thing, and it was like his last interview, and he was ranting about I guess his beef with Rob Zombie or something or other. But anyway, like, it's so weird because I just read something about Guar, and now Guar, like, there's only 2 times in my life Guar has come up, and it's been like, I'm on a roll is what I'm saying with it. Ken says it's an iPhone thing. Are you on an
I'm on a Mac though. I'm on a MacBook.
I'm on a MacBook the whole time. And I was going to say, didn't you get like one of the Canon M50s or whatever that you're running for videos now?
Yeah, but I'm just on the MacBook.
The regular old Mac
right now. Yeah, I'm using an external mic, but it's just the camera built in. So yeah, I don't know.
That's Owen. That's even funnier. I know. Turns out I know who the Guar fan is. Okay, I didn't. How much in your life do you run across that where somebody has like an internet handle, their actual name, and then you realize that, oh, these 2 people are just, that's the same person.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Oh, and there we go. All right, now I'm all caught up. So, Shane, talk to me about how your business model works with the content. You put out a ton of content. Why? What's the drive? Yeah, I know on the surface people are probably like, well, you get clicks and that's fun. That wears out real fast. I could tell you that from experience. So, right. So why the content? Talk us through the value that it brings for you and business model wise.
Well, originally it was just to document my journey and help get my name out there. And it's actually something I like to do, and it does help with the name recognition. It does help with sales. It's not like I wouldn't say like I get premium versus anyone else, but if there's 50 ball pythons that are identical on Morph Market or whatever, then mine might get chosen just because my name type.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, that's just something I'd put out there, but it's also, I'm sure Adam, it's also like once you start, like you enjoy it. And then there's like this part inside of you, like when I go to Tinley and like somebody says like, hey man, like I had a couple and it almost made me cry. Like your videos helped me out with this situation. And they're like, I'm so thankful. And I give them a hug. And I'm like, I owe it to like keep going. Like there's this little obligation in there now. You know? And like I'll go on hiatus every now and then for not too long, but it's just like I feel like the ball's rolling now. I got to keep going.
Yeah. I found some of exactly what you're talking about, and I found it does help. It helps the business. It helps. I'm an absent for anybody that wonders about social media and why do it and why do this show and blah, blah, blah. I can't quantify because it doesn't fit on a spreadsheet that X equal, 2 + 2 = 4. But I could tell you building a community builds business. It builds happiness. It builds support. It builds fulfillment. It builds opportunities. Man, there's been amazing opportunities that come up, whether it be from just fun stuff of, having a beer with Owen and Jen, or monumental things like, ultimately building some relationships led to a table at Tinley. So
right.
All of those things, I can't exactly quantify it. And it's hard because I'm sort of a numbers guy and people go, well, almost everything you do has some equation of, well, if I do this, it equals this. I can't exactly sort of. Yeah. I can't exactly tell you. It doesn't hurt. I'll tell you that it doesn't hurt a bit of it. But it's totally worth doing. And then, this part, it goes along with what you're talking about, although it's sort of my own fulfillment. Tuesday nights have become kind of my own fun release, man. Like it's a lot of work getting up to Tuesday night, but once that music hits, man, it's like, oh, cool. This is the world, and my family's great. I mean, if there's an emergency or whatever, they'd interrupt me, but they're totally supportive of it. It's like, Adam and Dad's space. That's it right there, you know? So I really enjoyed it, and I would encourage anybody to, really. And it's an amazing way to make contacts. I still can't get my head around the reach that even my channel has, much less some other. I mean, even yours, you got 17,000 Instagram followers, man. Like, that's a hell of a reach to get a message out there, which probably your messages are usually about a snake, but you know, if you wanted to get something else out there too. So I think it's very
Here's
valuable.
a good example though. One of my bestest friends in the hobby, Sal Gomez, was in a horrible accident.
Yes, terrible.
I won't rehash all that, but I was like, dude, this is my chance to use what reach I have to put together a charity auction. And like, dude, I was so proud of that. And like, I felt so good for being able to help him and his family, but I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't have all this social media stuff going.
Right. I hate to ask, like a lot of things, we hear a lot in the moment and then we hear nothing after that moment passed. I'm hesitant to ask, but how's Sal doing? What's the update there?
Sal's still doing good. I still talk with him multiple times a week and everything.
Okay.
He's got a lot of recovery he's doing and stuff.
Yeah.
And but he's doing good though. He's doing good.
All right.
I will get him on somewhere at some point.
Sure. I don't know him. I haven't interacted with him, but he was super helpful to me on getting my ASFs going. I watched his when I was first starting my rodents. I would watch his ASF videos, and actually to this day, I use his strategy of putting a 55-gallon trash can under the big tubs when I pull it out. So when they all jump out, boom, right into the big bucket, and I can scoop them right back up again. So, well, I hope he's doing well. And I regret that I don't know him at all, but we can't all know everybody. But yeah, when I saw that, it's just family, husband, dad, all that, man. You just don't know when things happen,
Yeah. So, selfishly, that was a rough time for me because like Chris Eaton's another good friend of mine, and him and Cal's thing both happened at the same time. And I'm like, dude, these are the guys I call on a daily basis.
Yeah.
What the fuck do I do now?
Well,
what about me, guys? What about me?
Well, I want to get into some of that in a little bit of support, networks of support, and kind of the important things in life. Let's it's the top of the hour. Let's pay some bills real quick, and then let's jump into some deeper stuff if that works for you, man.
Yeah.
Cool. Everybody, I hope I just think the world of REDLINE shipping. Robin and the team. Robin's a great figurehead, but let me tell you, he surrounds himself with some amazing people. And I could tell you about price. I could tell you about value. I could tell you your animals are going to get there safe. And that's all true. The team is going to make sure of how that all happens, man. Coming out of Tinley, I heard somebody had animals basically that FedEx just lost the tracking on. No idea where they were. They call Ed at REDLINE. Ed goes, "We don't have that tracking number." And I said, "Well, you should. And it's somewhere. Something's wrong." Ed went and found those animals from the REDLINE team when he easily could have gone, "Look, I don't know. It's not in the FedEx database. So you take it up with FedEx." No, went and found where they were, called the people on the ground. Those animals arrived safe in California because that's the example. That's why you should use REDLINE. You want to save $5 on your label on top of all of that? Great. Use Proper 5. But, I'm just happier and happier to be aligned with REDLINE. They're great. Along the lines of great customer service, Charlie, Gray Rider Reptiles with shedtesting.com. Turnaround time is fast. It's Charlie that's doing the tests. It's Charlie that's giving you the results. He's the one handling it, processing it. And I kind of like the story of like the disruptor, of like the guy fighting that feels like he doesn't quite have the respect he deserves, man. And I respect the hell out of Charlie. But I just stay tuned on Charlie. He's got some cool stuff coming. He's got great tests coming up as well. I know the Hurricane Trick and Blitz test is out there right now. DG and Axanthic, VPI Axanthic just came out as well. He's got things on the horizon. I don't want to make promises that he's going to unveil on his own. I'm not here to steal any thunder. But let me tell you, man, Charlie's the guy. So give him a shot, shedtesting.com. Promo code proper15. You're going to save 15% off of 2 orders of shed tests. I got to give huge thanks to Brandon Nixon. Brandon Nixon at Nixon Reptiles. That's the orange logo in the corner there. He's been a great supporter, a great partner. I don't actually remember the first time we interacted because we've become really so close. This is the last time for this go around. Who knows? Maybe it'll come around again, but this is the last, our sponsorship arrangement ends tonight. And if you're wondering, well, if it's so good, why is it going away? Well, it was part of a business deal that we did, and that was part of the arrangement. So no bad blood whatsoever. I will always recommend Brandon. He's down there in Maryland. He works the orange projects, just like his logo, Sunset, Ultramel, Monarch, and Hypo. Also check out his content on Instagram. It's top notch. He's a great guy and incredibly insightful. And I just appreciate Brandon for all the support, ongoing, long-term, far more than just transactional support. Really great. Portuguese pythons. That is Danny and Renee Rocha out in Chino, California. They've also been incredibly supportive. I've got a 1.3 of a Ultramel Pied project from them with lots of codoms in it that I'm working, and I'm excited to be a part of that project. Thanks to them. They're great people. They just hatched a super blackhead Ultramel clutch that I've seen a few promos still from. So I think that they still have those available. Check it out. Great people. Absolutely recommended. Trevor, Ball Labs in Aurora, Colorado. He's been keeping reptiles for over 20 years, breeding ball pythons for 15. He's working with Puzzle, Ultramel, Clown, VPI Axanthic, Tri-Stripe, and quietly Monsoon, Zebra, and Sunset. I say quietly because when we first did like the introductory interview of trying to figure out if we're a good fit or not, he tells me about Monsoon, Zebra, and Sunset. And he goes, you know what? I want to make sure everybody knows there's something for everybody here. So tell them about these other genes first. So that's what we do. If you're in Colorado, Trevor is one of the few people in Colorado that has the license to distribute and sell rodents. So that tells you that he's operating on the up and up, and he does it right. Check him out, Ball Labs. And last but not least, Chris at B and S Reptilia. If you want a crash course on how to get into a table at Tinley, I know a lot of people think there was just this handout, and don't get me wrong, relationships were good and they played a big part of it, but Chris's relationship played the biggest part, because Chris is my Tinley partner and he has enough species to bail out the ball python guy to get a table. So Reptilia is in the name because Chris has many species, incredibly knowledgeable and helpful, but blood pythons, ball pythons, boa constrictors, locality boas, Pituophis, if that means anything to you. He's your man. Colubrids, of course, and lots of cool stuff. And check out my Instagram. There's a picture of certain things that he's got coming up this year, which was the inventory list from Tinley. Thank you so much for the support, Chris. Guys, go support these sponsors. And all the links are down below in the description for the sponsors, as well as shout out and kudos to Shane at Small Town Xotics. Thank you for having a Linktree link. So efficient, one line, one click, everything, everywhere in one spot. I feel so bad. Like, people with great things come on the show, and I'm like, dude, I can't put 6 different links down there. There's only so many things that people are going to look at. But I'm not affiliated with the Linktree whatsoever. Just I believe in I'd be happy to be affiliated Linktree. I like the product. I use it. It's great. Shane's Linktree is down there as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you, man. It's the least I could do for you coming on and spending some time with me.
I want to add something to your sponsors. Of course, all the reptile breeders. I love all those guys too, but I personally use Redline and Gray Rider as well. Those are my 2 companies as well. So I highly endorse both them. I
tell you what, I literally just got chills because I'm proud of it. You start to see groups of people, the old birds of a feather saying comes to, these people don't surround themselves with liabilities and with, they don't miss on their hits. And there's a reason that you keep hearing their names in the same circles. You keep hearing why they're at the top of the industry. I couldn't be more thankful, and I couldn't be more proud to be aligned with them. And like you, I was a customer before I was ever in business with either one of them. And this is just, it's super cool. Part of that is just, we talked about fulfillment from social media, man. Part of that, like, feels like validation and recognition for myself that they would put their name on my product too. So right. I'm incredibly thankful. So, and audience, these people are the ones that make a lot of this happen. Like I'm not taking trips to Hawaii on these sponsorships, but they do make my daily life a little bit easier. So check them out. If you, if you're in the market for any of those, take a look at those. Shane, I wanted to ask, and you've been pretty open about this stuff. We even talked about it behind the scenes, but it's something that's touched my life before. And I love seeing people come out the other side. And that is some addiction and challenging things, for lack of a better word. I'm not familiar with your story, so I'm treading lightly here, and I'll kind of let you take the lead. But my two big passions in life before ball pythons, well, other than my family, were and still are music and the restaurant industry. And those are two industries and areas that are hit especially hard with addiction and depression and all the things that go with that, and some really terrible outcomes that I've encountered in my life. And thankfully it hasn't, I've managed to avoid that situation, me personally, but I've seen it affect dear friends, and I have friends that maybe I'll see them again one day, but I won't see them on this earth again. So anyhow, could you tell us, if you would tell us, and I think it's important to share that because there's always somebody going through something out there. And that's what I've learned. And that's what I would ask, not to pick any wounds of yours, but because I know that other people that might hear something could really benefit from hearing it. Would you mind sharing some of your story with us?
Yeah. That's part of recovery, man. Sharing the story. And the short story is, I lived a fast life. I raised myself on the streets ever since I was about 13 or 14. So I've been on my own that whole time. I've done many recreational drugs that turned into like career choices, basically. And
I gotcha.
Then after a lot of years, man, I did some prison time over that kind of stuff. And then drinking was what I settled on. And same thing, though, music is like my religion. And, I was in that kind of like fast rock and roll type lifestyle, even though I wasn't up on the stage. That was the kind of life I lived. And then I settled on alcohol in my older years, in my 30s, and I didn't touch anything else. And then alcohol, man, that one was the roughest one to give up, honestly, man. So it'll be 7 years this year that I've been totally clean and sober. I don't touch anything. And I don't touch anything stronger than like a Tylenol or an Advil.
Well, good for you. And I didn't mean to laugh there. I meant to, when you talk about a Tylenol or an Advil, I think, and probably even like cigarettes, even more magnified than alcohol. But I think those two particular are the easiest to say, I got a handle on this. I can always have a little bit. I'm always going to wake up in the morning, which may or may not be true, but I'm always going to wake up in the morning. And it's like this insidious thing that just chips away at you. And one day you're 10 years older than you're supposed to be. You're 15 or 20 years older than you're supposed to be, and was there and again, on any of this you don't care to share, I would be not offended whatsoever, but what was the moment like? Was there a moment, or was there anything like specific, or was there just I'm just tired, I'm just exhausted?
Yeah, there was. So like I said, I've had all these rock bottom moments, like multiple near deaths, all these things. And then it actually just one day, it was kind of like what you said, man. I woke up and I'm like, I'm tired of being a slave.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, when I have to drink just so I don't have the shakes, and then when I finally did get all the way sober and went through all the detoxing and stuff, I was like, damn, I feel really good. Like, I could barely sleep and, and all this stuff. I'm like, man. And then I was like, I wonder why I feel so good. And then my AA sponsor is like, well, you were living in a hangover for a decade, And I was like, oh, yeah, that explains it,
Yeah, right. And I wrestled with, I didn't have, to be absolutely clear, I cannot empathize at all with substance abuse or anything beyond drinking. I had an uncle that overdosed and passed away when I was 7, and that made a pretty big impact on me. And so I've kind of known my own personality. Like I do things I like, and I do them a lot. So I've known, like, you know what, Adam, you're going to really like doing that, so you can't do it, kind of thing. And fortunately I've understood that. But I found, like, some of the work life choices that I made were borderline addictive, and not to over dramatize anything, because that is not the same as substance abuse. But again, you start going like, well, I made it through today, man, and shit, that didn't kill me. So I'm a badass. I can do that again. And suddenly I was working 6-7 days a week for a decade. And I go, man, my son's 9. He's halfway out of the house, man. Like, what am I doing here? And it became this weird, like, badge of honor. And then that whole sort of persona got shattered. And well, I got old. I just got exhausted. Like you say, you're like, it's amazing. You get a good night of sleep without drinking and then not living like a vampire. You feel like a superhero, and you're like, man, I'm pretty productive. This is amazing. This is great to feel this way. And you're like, you could feel this way every day if you wanted to. You're like, oh, okay, yeah. So, but you talked about Sal's injury, and I only acknowledge it because Chris has been very public with it, but Chris's medical conditions and issues and challenges. And he was actually pretty transparent about some of the mental health that went with it too. And just figuring it out, getting through it, or trying to, and some of that journey. Were you able to translate any of the support you got and your experience to those guys when they were going through that? Did you find the roles switched where you were sort of the mentor, the sponsor role, or the support role?
Yeah, to a degree. And well, let me say something though too. So, like, part of like a 12-step program or whatever, like that kind of recovery, like towards the end, like, my recovery, like I need to be doing like altruistic things. So I need to be helping other people, or else I'll sink back in my own funk, So like, like me helping out with Sal's auction, that was something that like keeps me sober. Like, when people tell me like, your video did so much for me, or I talk to them privately, that's the kind of stuff that keeps me sober, man. So it's like, to me, like, this whole hobby industry like ties in with everything else going on in my other life. It's all interconnected.
It is all interconnected. And that goes back to some of the things we were talking about earlier with where I think Jen put it extremely well. There's some quantitative benefits to things, and then there's qualitative, and altruism is absolutely one of those things that, I like the expression, doesn't fit on a spreadsheet, but man, it does some good in the world. And I think I never want to drive things too far, take things to, or let them, God forbid, they turn into politics or whatever. But I think we could all use a little bit of that. And whether it be on the giving or the receiving end, we could all use a little bit of that in our lives. And I think it's important to do more than just say we could use a little bit of it. That comes down to that old walking the walk thing that we all hear in the expression, like, it's okay to get up and want to do something good for somebody else. There's nothing negative wrong about that, and I think that's cool stuff. So, well, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure in my heart, there's probably a lot more that went to it. And it's, you've probably rehashed it many times
and
and lived it many times.
I have people in the reptile community that reach out and
right.
and they've talked to me, privately, and that's all confidential, but like, they're like,
Of course.
oh yeah, I found sobriety and found reptiles, and, thanks for sharing, just mentioning it on, XYZ podcast, whatever and stuff. So me personally, I don't like to I'm not good at talking about it because I don't want to glamorize it.
Right.
But I'm open to anyone contacting me privately or anything. And,
I get it. And I get that it's, I can get that part of it. And I often wonder, and this is sort of a survivor's thing. Of course, I can't wonder if I could have ever changed anything, but the drummer in our band, he committed suicide while he was in our band, and he was there one day, and suddenly, immediately, horribly, he wasn't there. And then 2 weeks later, a guy that I worked with similarly, and, I don't ever want there to be a stigma. I want people to be able to say it's okay to ask. But again, and like what you say in the meetings and the conversations you have, that's got to be confidential too. So I don't ever want to walk the line of prying too much, but I do want anybody to know I might not have the resources. I have the ear to listen to, and I think I'm pretty good at listening and caring and giving a damn. But there are resources out there, and honestly, at some point, my helpfulness will run out. But I'll say, I'll damn sure support you, getting you here and getting you to that place, because so often we can't make it on our own in many, many ways in life, and this is just one of those examples too, I think.
Yeah, especially for personality styles similar to mine. I never give up.
Right.
Giving up, and you never surrender, but in certain cases you have to surrender to win. So I had to surrender in order to become sober, so it was the complete opposite of what my brain's telling me to do,
Right. Yeah. That's that's an interesting catch-22. So to win, you had to quit. You had to, not just literally quit the thing. You had to quit the whole thing, not just a thing. You had to quit the whole thing, and then you would win like that.
Yeah. It affected my career. I was in the oil fields, that sector of employment at the time. And it was like that. When you work hard, all the guys after work play hard, including
That's right.
like the owners of the company, and and I've got plenty of promotions from drinking. And then all of a sudden, I was out of that. I don't associate with that. And then it's I'm stale. I'm a stalemate, right where I'm at, but how bad do you want it? You know what I mean? I'm willing to sacrifice who I am today for what I will become. Bam,
I love, so in business, not even this stuff, I love the idea of paying my future self. When people are if I have to make a decision of take this now or earn interest, especially if it's tax-free, that's good stuff. I'll pay myself all day long, future self all day long on that, but there's things in life that way too. And yes, you don't know, the future self is never guaranteed. On the other hand, we're all still here, and we came from somewhere to be our future self now. So maybe we could do that again. Right. I never really understood the argument. Well, I could die tomorrow. I'm like, well, yeah, but you're not going to care if you're dead tomorrow. But if you live, you probably would like to take care of yourself to be alive. Right. That argument, I'm like, but then you get into the whole topic of the afterlife, that's a whole different discussion as well, which even I'm still figuring all that out. So, well, I had some quick fire fun. We both love, by the way, thank you so much for sharing that, Shane. It means a lot to me. And I know I'm an outsider from, it's hard to call that a community, but that community of folks that have experienced that, on the other hand, it means a lot to me to make sure that I can be a supporter is what I'm saying. I can be an ally. So thanks for, thank you, man. I appreciate that. You said, you just totally caught me off guard. You said you were doing the guitar tech like stuff. What's your? You got to tell me more about that, man.
Back in California, like I would do that kind of stuff for like nardcore local bands and stuff. And kind of like what you said about, all right, well, they're going to open up for this other band that I want to see. I might as well be carrying in equipment and tuning guitars because I'm more than capable of doing that, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's super cool, man.
And that's actually like I would kind of like, not social media wise, but I would be out pumping up the crowd and stustuff too. And that, like,
the hype guy. Yeah.
I kind of brought that with me to the reptile side too, you know? Like,
yeah. I remember, I know and our genres, we have a little bit of overlap, but not a whole lot. So I know that, but I'm sure you've heard of the band, the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. They have a dude in the band that does nothing but jump around and dance and hype up the crowd. That's all and he's been in the band. He's like in the albums and all of that. And he's the same guy for like 20 years. And he dances, he's got a suit, he's out on tour with them. And he's not just like a dude in the audience. Like that's his job. I'm like,
yeah, I missed the boat on that. That's perfect.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. He just dances and points and it's great, man. All right, so for those of us that aren't metalheads, which you're going to be impressed. I know a little bit, not a whole lot. What's the best metal thing out there going right now? And I know metal encompasses a whole lot of subgenres, so that's a massive question. But
I can't even keep up with all the subgenres. I'm just like, that's a little more aggressive. This is a little less aggressive. To me, like the best metal band that is still going after all these years is Crowbar.
Okay,
and they're from New Orleans, Louisiana, and like Kirk. I mean, he is Crowbar. Like he's like almost at Lemmy status at this point. I mean, he's like that guy, you know. And to me, and like he's in a million different projects and stuff. To me, I'm just a Kirk fan, but Crowbar. That's kind of. I do like other stuff, you know, like I was raised on like Southern rock and classic rock, Led Zeppelin and stuff. And like Crowbar is something that's like heavy, but it ain't like super fast. It's more slow groove.
I was gonna say they're kind of like an old school, like
low and slow.
Yeah.
I'm getting old, man. I can't handle blast beats and all that crap no more. You know, like that was my youth.
So actually I had two really quick stories, but so I went to this festival, Rockville in Daytona. And the reason I went is my favorite band other than the Rolling Stones, but my favorite band that's still an actual band is Social Distortion. And they were playing there. And if Social D is around, I'll go see them. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go get tickets to this Rockville festival, which is this ungodly, way too many people that I care to ever be around in my life in one time. And it's really a metal festival. I'm sure Social Distortion got paid unbelievably for it. Good for them for going. And it was a fun show. But, you know, so that night, Metallica was the headliner that night, which is great. I like Metallica, and they're kind of that overlap area. But then there's some bands and first one that I never even would have given the time of day to. Rob Zombie is like the best live show. I mean, incredible. He had John 5 in his band with him that day, and I'm a guitar nerd, so I knew who John 5 was, and I was like, look at this, man. This is all right. And then there was some other band, and this is really horrible. There's a pastry that's called like a Bear Claw, and I can never remember if the band's called Bear Claw or Bear Tooth. I think it's Bear Tooth.
I think it's Bear Tooth, yeah.
Yeah, Bear Tooth. They were great, man. They're outstanding for kind of a non-metal guy. But anyway, so that's the extent of it. One thing I did notice though, a lot of the bands were playing to tracks, and I know playing to tracks is nothing new. But when it feels like karaoke, that's the problem. I was like, I don't know. Maybe it was just the ones they were kind of on the side stages, but I was like, that's a little much, man.
And I hate to feel like the old guy in the music
room,
but it's like the bands I like don't do that.
They don't, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they don't. Yeah. You don't play the tracks. You play your damn instruments. What the hell did you get a band for in the first place? You know, And like I say, I know what's going on. I know, like, you know, Aerosmith fired the Black Crowes for them calling out them playing with tracks, but I feel like anyway, it doesn't matter. I don't like it. Get rid of it all. Fine.
Yeah,
no
but you
tracks.
brought up a good point though. So like when you go see someone play live and you've been a fan of music, or maybe you've fiddled around with some kind of instrument, sometimes the bands you really like on record are crap live, and sometimes there'll be a band that you never even paid any attention to, but you see them live and you're like, holy, whoa, I am now a fan.
That's
In fact,
right.
I'm going to your merch booth buying a shirt and a CD right now.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And the first time I had chills talking about, the first time I saw Social Distortion was exactly that. I was far from a punk. I was at the Warped Tour with hair down to here and Birkenstocks, man. I was like the hippie in the crowd, man. And I was like, yeah, it was like the skies parted and the sun shone on me. So I mean, I was like, this makes sense, man. Yeah. What? So my only other like even remotely metal moment in my life, I was in LA and I went to the Rainbow because that's what you do. If you know anything about rock and roll, you go to the Rainbow. And if you don't know about the Rainbow, it is far from as pristine as you might perceive something called the Rainbow to be. And that's where Lemmy hung out. And I'll be damned if I don't walk in there at about 4 p.m, still broad daylight, me and 2 other guys who knew nothing about why we were at the Rainbow. They were just doing nothing but putting up with me. And there's Lemmy, and he's playing the Miss Pac-Man game that's in the top of the bar, you know? And so I'm like, all right, just be cool, Adam. And I go up to the bar to order a drink, and the bartender, she doesn't even say what he wants. She doesn't say, hey. She goes, don't talk to Lemmy. I said, can I order a drink? She goes, don't talk to Lemmy. I said, all right, I won't. She goes, if you fucking talk to Lemmy, you're going to get your ass beat and we're throwing you out. I said, I'm not going to talk to Lemmy. She goes, I could see it in your eyes. Don't speak to Lemmy. She goes, what do you want? I said, a bourbon and ginger ale. She goes, I'm not fucking around here, Adam. I'm not fucking around here. Don't talk to him. I was like, all right, I won't. So all afternoon we saw him like, that's him. That's him right there. This is Lemmy.
Yeah.
Closest I ever got. He died shortly after, man. That was not like 2 weeks, but I mean, that was by the time I was ever back at the Rainbow, he was gone at that point. So that was the closest I ever got to. And I am not like a speed band guy or metal guy, but I enjoy Motorhead, man. I was blown away that
Motorhead's one of those like cross genre, like a lot of people, you know, from all different whatevers like Motorhead, you know. So.
Yeah, well, and there's just like this charismatic allure to it, and you know what? Something I meant to say at the beginning, which I'm not comparing you to Lemmy. There's something so good about people that are so confident and comfortable in who they are. Like, you're so good at just being you, man. Like, you're so good at staying out of the headache and the BS and all of that, and like. It's just refreshing. But anyway, Lemmy was that way too. If anybody who didn't give a damn, that was that was him, man. So it was super cool. And for anybody that isn't into metal and maybe is a Beatles fan, Lemmy, which you might not know, I don't know, maybe you know, Shane. It might have been Motorhead, but for sure Lemmy put out an album called Butchering the Beatles, and it's all Beatles covers. It's fantastic. Him singing Back in the USSR is phenomenal. Doing the Beach Boys ooh stuff in the background, you know, Back in the USSR is phenomenal. Have you ever heard any of those cuts?
No, I need to listen to that.
Good. Immediately after the show, your homework. Lemmy Butchering the Beatles, and it's like 12 cuts of him doing Beatles covers, man, and he is just living up rock and roll, but all unmistakably Lemmy Motorhead style with that overdriven Rickenbacker bass, man.
Lemmy's the kind of guy that could do that stuff, man.
That's right. He's the only guy that can walk in and go, I'm going to do let's do some Beatles covers tonight. And they're like, yeah, we're in, man. Oh man, Shane, give us a rundown. Where can people see you both in person, but also online? And what do you got available? What do people need to pick up from you? How can they support you?
All right. So Instagram and YouTube. If you want to message me, Instagram is the place. I do have Facebook, but whatever. You want to meet me in person? I'll be at every Tinley. Like I already have my time off for October. I'll be there. I don't know where I'll be, but I'll be there. That's what I do.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. And I do have animals on my Husbandry Pro and on Morph Market. Same list on both. All that's in my Linktree. And everyone should get a Linktree, by the way. Everyone should get a Linktree.
Simplifies everything, makes everything better for the users. Forget even the people that don't know about it. They're customers that makes it better for.
Right. Everyone needs one.
Shane, thank you so much, man. It's been a blast. I really, really appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. And I will likewise see you in October if I don't see you somewhere out on the road beforehand. I appreciate all that you do, both just industry wise, but just you being you. And I think it's pretty cool, man. So thanks for everything, man.
No, thanks for having me on, Adam. And I appreciate what you do, keeping up the positivity and everything. Thank you, brother.
My pleasure. It's kind of my, I need a little bit of that to get through my day too. So it's not all purely altruistic. There's a little bit of selfishness there too. So thanks very much. Everybody, I got Matt Summers from Matt Summers Reptiles on next week. Same place, same time, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Cheers. Thank you, audience, for all the support, because otherwise it'd just be me and Shane running our mouths. So thank you very much. See you guys soon. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you.